big steps in their development. Chapeau to them, and it's up to us now to close that gap.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Odd Tandem. Today, we had a great chat with Grischa Niermann, who's head of racing for Visma-Lease bike. We all know that Visma-Lease bike had some, let's just say, bad luck this year, but we talked to them, and they have plans to rebound from a little bit of a disappointing season and come back and win the Tour in 2025. Jens, a fellow countryman of yours, we've known Grischa a long time. What did you think about our chat today with him?
It was good. You have him back. He's the second time with us on the podcast. And yeah, it's always interesting to talk to him. I liked how open he was and also respectful he was towards Team UAE and Tadej Pogacar to say, hey, look, all I can do is just congratulate them for a fantastic season. We, of course, try to become better next year, and we know who we have to beat in Tadej Pogacar, and we work towards that. So it was another really good chat with Grischa.
Yeah, so make sure you listen to this one, put those Christmas decorations up, finish wrapping those presents, and enjoy our great conversation with Grischa. Grischa Niermann, welcome to The Odd Tandem.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a while since the last time we spoke was January 2022 when we were under a different name. Yeah, things have changed. You guys have won the Tour de France twice. This year was a little bit of a different year. But before we get into that, where are you right now? And I understand you're at a training camp still, right?
Yes, we're in Spain, Oliva, close to Benidorm, and we are here on training camp until for another 5 days.
That training camp there, is that more about team building, team spirit, building, integrating the new riders, or you already do some serious training?
By December, we also do, of course, some serious training. We also have the guys here that have to go to Tour Down Under in less than a month. So we are training, but also a lot of this camp is about having talks with the riders about their race programs, about their personal development, and stuff like this. So it's a very busy camp, but so far all goes well. We had some floodings here the last days, a lot of rain 2 days ago, but now it cleared up and it's nice weather again.
You must know those roads like the back of your hand. You were a racer, and that part of Spain seems to be used by pretty much every team. What is why do you guys have the training camp down there in near Benidorm? I mean, I did my first training camp as a neo-pro there back in 1995. What is it the weather? Is it the terrain? Or is it just like, hey, let's get into some warmer climates on familiar roads?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it's a combination of the weather and also the logistics. For example, if you want to go to Mallorca at that time of the year, you have to catch a boat. And right now, all the teams bring a lot of equipment, trucks, cars to their training camps. And then I guess right now, again, 17, 18 World Tour teams are here on training camp now at the same time. And of course, it's really good for training, a lot of variation. You can go into the mountains, you can use flatter roads towards the coast. So it's a good area, but why every team chooses to go here, I also don't really know. Especially from like the Belgium, the Benelux, it's actually really easy to get here. From Germany, there are actually not so many flights. Flying from Holland or Belgium to Alicante, that's the same for any German to fly to Mallorca. That's possible 5 times a day. So that's, of course, a big advantage for everybody living in the Benelux.
And in that training camp, or have you done it already, any wind tunnel testing for the new riders, or new material, new equipment, any more changes going on there for the time trial, or is it already all done?
No, we spent some time in Holland on the track, but also now in Valencia just before the camp. We have Jamie Loudon on the team, our new aerodynamicist. So a lot of things going on there. Also, a bit of new equipment we are testing, but nothing nothing official yet. So I think we're always trying to update, to optimize our equipment.
So that means you cannot tell us what did you test. It's not official yet, correct?
No, I mean we'll have a few new partners from next year on, and actually I don't know 100% if they are officially announced yet, so I rather don't name their names. But yeah, there's always some sort of optimization. We have a bit of a different cockpit from Cervelo and stuff like this.
Yeah, I tell you, that's one of the coolest parts of your bikes is that cool cockpit, the handlebar setup on those race bikes. So, this time of year, there's new swag being handed out, right? There's not only the bikes, but the suitcases. And we've seen on social media quite a bit about how many suitcases, how much swag is involved. And you guys got a state-of-the-art brand new service course. Tell us a little bit about that facility and how it's going to, impact or help the team this year.
Yeah, it's actually not that new. We also already in there for I think 2.5 years now. But it's our high performance center. It's not called service course anymore. We also have our complete office there, and actually it's a very nice place. I think once a year we open it for the public, and you can come and visit it every year in November when we have our sales days. So I would recommend to everybody to actually come there and take a look. It's very big and nice, and everything has its own place. Every rider has his own compartment where his bikes and his equipment is located, and the buses, the trucks, they can drive inside the building and be loaded. Yeah, it's a very nice to have.
Well, when we just talked about the service course, do you maybe on top of your head, do you know how many bikes your team goes through in a year? I mean, it's got to be 2 TT bikes per rider and probably at least 3, maybe 4 road bikes, right? On top of that comes the women's team. Do you know roughly, is it 150 bikes per year, or do you have an idea about that?
No, to be honest, not. But yeah, what you're saying, that's probably true. We have now 29 riders in the World Tour. We have, I think, 15 or 16 in the women's team. And then we have another 15 on the development team, which maybe have a few bikes less. So it is a lot. But then, of course, some of the bikes are also not going away after a year. So the race bike becomes a training bike, for example, if the equipment doesn't change totally. But yeah, it's a lot of bikes for sure.
So you just mentioned that Visma-Lease bike has a women's team and a junior development team. Are all the teams, all the World Tour team, the women's team, and the development team, are they all together at training camps, or do they have their separate training camps?
Yeah, we actually have a under 23 development team, not a junior team. We also have a junior team associated to our team, but that's not officially with us. And right now, the women they are located in further north in close to Barcelona, and our under 23 team is actually having a cross country skiing camp in Norway, where we are all very jealous of that they are having fun in the snow, while we have to ride on the bikes. Right now we opt for different camps. We also already had camps all together, but we are here now, I think, with 85 people just for the World Tour team, and if it becomes 150 people for all 3 teams, then it actually gets a bit messy and a bit too much. I think when we go to the next camp in January, we will at least be together with the development team.
Hey, Grischa, before we go to more serious questions about next season, this season, we have a little series of quick fire questions. Short questions, short answers to loosen up a little bit. Are you ready?
Of course.
Alrighty, you're born ready, right?
Of course I am.
What is the best moment 2024?
That's a good question. Maybe winning Tirreno and Paris on one day, and then I think the day after we went with Jonas to Nice and to reckon the TT of the tour, and then we met Matteo, and they actually rode a bit together. So that was a very nice moment, nice memories of.
That's a good pick. Best way to unwind after a grand tour for you now, not for the team, not for riders, for you.
For me, getting home and spending time with my wife and my kids, so definitely.
Something you cannot be without in your director's car.
My director's car, my iPad.
There you go. That was a quick answer. The dream result of you and the team in 2025.
Winning the tour.
Awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, winning the Tour. I mean, Jonas Vingegaard, you guys won 2 years in a row. Obviously, we all know that Jonas had a bad crash, and I personally was pretty surprised to see him not only at the start line of the Tour de France, but actually finishing on the podium of the Tour de France. So can you just clear up, because there is some kind of questions like, what were Jonas's major injuries that he had to come back from?
Yeah, I think the I don't know the exact amount and names of his injuries, but he had a very serious crash, and we actually talked about that again today, and it was a miracle that he made it in time for the Tour, and it was much worse than just a few broken bones, but he did everything to get ready, get in shape, and he made it to the Tour, and yeah, we always said like we don't know yet if Jonas is going to start the Tour, but that was also true, and there was one part because we were not sure about his level, but the other part also we were not sure if he would be mentally ready to cope with all the pressure, with the action and the risks he has to take in the race until just before the Tour that we could really give green light. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to win, but I think finishing second in that Tour was a great achievement, and made us all very proud.
Alrighty, now Grisha, honestly, it is the night before the Tour de France. What were your real expectations and hopes for Jonas? You go, well, yeah, podium for sure. You go, oh, I hope top 10, or I hope he finishes. What did you think now that it's a few months ago? What did you really think inside of you when you were alone in your room the night before the Tour started?
Yeah, good question. I think it was a little bit with the hope, of course, that he would absolutely grow into the race and be capable of winning, but also the fear of yeah, in the worst case scenario, he says after a day, I'm not ready yet to handle this and to cope with this pressure. So it could really go all the ways, and actually, especially already after day one, but especially after day two on San Luca on the climb in Bologna, we were actually really happy and also relieved that he was going as well as he did.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been a very stressful period. But now looking back, what percent do you think he was? Was he at 85%? Was he at 90%? Because it's just kind of crazy to think about that. Okay, Tadej Pogacar had an amazing season. Jonas has beaten him handedly the last two Tour de France's and finished second to him this year. But where do you think, or where do the coaching staff think, what did he leave on the table? Like, what percentage of his real fitness was he able to start the Tour with?
I think that's very hard to say because especially if you wanna tell a percentage of his best fitness, I think especially on Plateau de Baye, it's reported that Tadej did the best ever performance of any rider in history. But Jonas did the second best performance, so that also means that Jonas did a better performance than he did himself the year before in the Tour. But on the other hand, we know that he can be a lot better, and he can at least have a lot better preparation. And that's of course something that gives us a lot of hope that he will be at least more competitive last year in 2025. Then still stating, I think Tadej Pogacar had a great year this year. He almost won everything that he wanted to win, and he deserved to win the Tour de France. I'm not saying that he was lucky to win the Tour de France because Jonas was injured. I mean, I think it was an exceptional level. I think UAE, they made big steps in their development, in optimizing their training, their nutrition, whatever in the last years. So only chapeau to them, and it's up to us now to close that gap, and we are confident we can do so. But it's not an easy task.
To give you a little bit air to breathe, we did an episode with Ned Boulting, British cycling commentator, and he actually pointed out something interesting. He said, yes, of course, Tadej is beatable, and yes, of course, Jonas will have a strong comeback, because until this year's Tour de France, apparently, Tadej has never beaten Jonas on an uphill bit, only in time trialing when he won his Tour de France. So when Jonas is healthy, that's what he said, he is actually a little bit stronger than Tadej. That was his opinion. After I thought about it, it did make sense. And Remember how we all thought that Egan Bernal is going to win 5 Tour de France's after he won a first Tour? You know? So, and I believe after a year like Tadej had, it will be hard to repeat that. So I guess, even though we're sitting here now, it looks actually a little bit better for Jonas looking into the next months. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that we're absolutely confident that we can have a lot better Jonas in 2025. An optimal with a perfect preparation. But then once again, we absolutely believe in that and we're absolutely going for that. But it will not be an easy task because right now Tadej is the best rider in the world, and that's nothing I think you can argue about. And we know where the man is that we have to beat, and we know what his level is. So that's where we have to work to.
But having last year was such a successful year. I mean, I'm talking 2023. You guys won all 3 Grand Tours, many one-day races, very much the dominant team. And it seems that maybe UAE is taking that over a little bit. How is that mentally to have to deal with like being on the top of the world for 2 years and then having so much bad luck this year that really kind of scuttled the plans for a repeat of 2023 and 2024?
Yeah, it was not an easy year that we had. I think we still won a nice amount of races. We still had our share of success. We are still the second best team in the world. Also, when you look to UCI points to the world ranking. But of course, it was not the year that we had hoped for. We had a lot of bad luck, or let's say we had a lot of crashes and injuries, and that's really something we look into because bad luck is for sure a big part of that. But we also want to look to ourselves and to our riders and to turn every stone around to see what can we improve in rider availability, what can we do to crash less, to have less severe consequences, to be more better racing skills, whatever peloton skills, and I think that's it's probably not all only down to bad luck, and it was not the most fortunate year, but we still also on top of that need to improve to be able to compete against UAE again.
And do you think, in general speaking, that cycling or men's professional road cycling has become more stressful, more dangerous, less space for everyone? Because you had a really series of terrible luck with crashes. Wout crashing twice, Jonas having a bad one. Do you think there's just nobody respects or nobody gives space to nobody anymore? Or you think now cycling has always been like this, we just had more bad luck this year?
I think in general, of course, you can say cycling has always been like this. I think when us three, we were riding the Tour de France, there were also crashes every day. I think it's maybe due to like better equipment, faster wheels, with rim brakes, with disc brakes, you can brake later. That maybe makes it even more dangerous because the speeds are going up. The riders are getting better and better. The equipment is getting better and better. And that makes, of course, also the risk of crashing bigger. And I think all stakeholders, they should work together, and riders, teams, organizers, UCI, everybody to address this and to make the sport as safe as possible for the riders, because just addressing the riders themselves that they should take less risk. I think that doesn't work in a high competitive sport where in the end the one that gets rewarded that wins the race no matter what. You have to make it as safe as possible, and you cannot tell riders to back off or to slow down.
Yeah, crashes suck. There's no doubt about that. Talking about crashes, Wout van Aert had 2 pretty serious ones this year. How is his recovery coming?
It's going well with Wout now. He will also do some cyclocross races when he goes back to Belgium, when he goes back home after this camp. He's still in the process of getting to 100% again. Luckily, there's still some time until the season really starts. I mean, also both crashes, but also the one in the Vuelta really had a lot of impact. He was off the bike for a long time, but he's in a good place now. He's training well. He's going well, but he's not at 100% yet.
Connecting to that now, how do you feel about him doing cyclocross? Do you think it's a good idea, gives him a little bit of an extra kick on his way back up? Or you go, oh no, it's too early to go any racing and, get your heart rate up to 200 and go full gas at these cyclocross races? What do you think at this point? for Wout? You go, yes, go for it. You go, oh, no, no, no.
No, I think I mean that's especially up to our performance staff, of course, to Mathieu Haibo, his trainer, to decide that. Like for sure, we would never let Wout do cyclocross races if we think there's any danger to his health or risk of getting an injury again. That I mean, he is 100% okay to compete, to do these races, only he's not on 100% level yet. And I think these races, he likes them a lot, but they will also help him to get in the shape he needs to be when the Spring Classics are coming.
So enough about the bad luck and the crashes. Let's talk about Mato Jorgenson. You know, he's been kicking around for quite a few years now. He switched over from Movistar and came to you guys last year and had just instant success. I would go out on a limb and say that maybe he saved the spring for your team or had a big part in that. Can you tell us a little bit more about Matteo and how he's fit so easily into your organization?
Yeah, Matteo is a great guy. He's a great rider, and I think he found the right spot in our team. On one side, being super professional and very scientific about training approach and stuff like this. On the other side, also really seeing the rider as a human being. And I think with Matteo, we found a really good way. Also, too, we have a very good connection. And now, for example, he's the only rider that's not on training camp here in Spain, because we let him go home at the end of November, and he will stay there, I think, until beginning of January, so he can spend time in the US, which also helps him a lot to have a relaxed time in the winter and still train well and prepare well, but having maybe less mental load, and he will come back in January, and he will be ready to tackle the first part of the season. And I think that's part of the success, that we just really find a very good balance together. Also with him addressing when he has the feeling he needs some rest, or what he's capable of and how much he can handle.
How far are you into the next season's planning? All the way till China at the end of the year, or you go, now we just planned until opening weekend, or we plan already until the classics, or the entire season is already basically cemented in stone?
No, I mean, also the last year showed us that nothing is ever cemented in stone.
True.
Looking to all the Grand Tours, we have to admit that not one year we could go actually to the Grand Tours, none of them with the lineup that we wanted to have in the winter. But then still we have a plan now for the whole season, especially until the Tour de France. Afterwards, we always know, like, longer you plan in advance, the more likely, of course, there is that there are changes. If somebody is not able to go to the Giro, then all of a sudden he will come into the picture for the Vuelta, for example, and maybe he was not planned originally. But we try to plan as much as possible, but also being aware of that it's most likely not coming out 100% of what we are having in our minds now.
You guys had quite a shakeup in the roster with 9 new riders coming to the team. One in particular, the under-23 road champion from Germany, Nicholas Behrens. What can we expect from him in 2025?
Yeah, I think Nicholas is a great rider, great talent. He only rides the bike for the 2.5, or he's only races for 2.5 years, I think. So before he did triathlon and swimming before that, so it's not that he didn't do any sports and all of a sudden he became a bike racer. But of course, we expect that he has a great future ahead of him, and also still a lot to improve and a lot to learn. But yeah, he already has been world champion under 23 this season, so a huge engine, and I think we will in the future we will have a lot of fun with him, but also it has to go step by step. I mean, don't expect him to win the biggest races already in 2025, but certainly we want to develop him into another world-class rider that I would now say especially should be perfectly suited to the classics.
On the other side of the age group, Victor Campenaerts, what is his plan for next year? What do you expect from Victor? Being a loyal domestic, riding tempo in the Tour de France, going on stage hunting at some other races. What's the plan for Victor Campenaerts? I mean, there's no question the talent is there, right?
Yeah, I think Victor, of course, was in the team when I first came here in 2017. And then he left us, and there was always good contact with him. And this year we went into negotiations because he really wanted to join the team, and that's in a clear role. He wants to be a helper for the best riders in the world, and that doesn't take away that for sure. Also, Victor somewhere will get some sort of freedom. But if he goes to Grand Tour next year, that probably most likely will not be as a stage hunter.
I kind of want to go back a little bit because, you have, a vast amount of experience in this sport. You worked with the development team, and now your official term is head of racing. But it just seems like the riders are getting younger and younger. They're coming out, some straight from the juniors, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years in under 23 and into the World Tour. Can you give a bit of advice with your experience to these young kids about making that transition and that decision, coming out of the juniors or that first year under 23 and making the leap to the World Tour? Because it just seems like we're almost, maybe it's just me being old, it just seems like they just don't have the patience. And, that's a lot of pressure on a 19 or 20-year-old kid to have the life skills to deal with the pressures of the World Tour. But what bit of advice would you give to those young juniors that are just chomping at the bit trying to get into the World Tour?
Yeah, I think to start with, I think that really changed over the last years, and something we just also have to accept and have to cope with. The riders, of course, getting more professional also from a younger age, having a coach already with whatever 14, 15, having a manager already in most cases as soon as they win a bike race, and of course also these managers negotiating contracts which are already World Tour worthy, I would say. That's just something I cannot say if it's good or bad. That's something we just have to deal with. Still, I absolutely believe that as a young rider, you need the time to develop, and it's not good then that you are thrown into the World Tour at a very young age. And we have the advantage to have a development team. So this year, for example, we have 4 guys coming from that development team into the World Tour, plus Niklas, who is also still under 23, plus, of course, more young riders like Kian Uiterbrooks or like Ben Tullet, who are also still very, very young. But we can basically have them on our World Tour team, but still send them to under 23 races. So we also look really to an individual schedule for everybody. Most likely Jürgen Nordhagen and Matthew Brennan, who are now second year, they will still race with the development team every once in a while, so we can really have them on the exactly the schedule that we want to have them on, and give them their optimal development path. That's our vision of it, and also, yeah, these young guys, of course, they are competitive more early also on World Tour level, and that's, I think, just something that is just the evaluation in cycling. There are still also 35-year-olds like Jens just mentioned that are on the highest level, but there are more and more 19, 20-year-olds that also win big races.
We're talking about development teams. Most pro teams have one. Would you think it's a good idea to have a rule like a rider that has been, let's say, on your team, 2 years in the Visma-Lease bike development team? He can only, once he is 19 or 21, he can only leave to another team when Visma-Lease bike gives the permission for that, to avoid things that, hey, we developed this beautiful talent, and now this team pays $50 more, and he's gone. And we have 2 years' work, all gone. Would you think there should be some rules implemented that either the new team buying that rider out should get like a penalty, like payment, or that your team that developed the rider has the last word to say if he's allowed to go or not? Would that make sense?
Yeah, of course, that's something you have to think about for the future. One thing which is maybe possible, I would say, is to get to a system where at least on a certain amount the buying team has to pay like a development fee, Would also be nice, of course, if it could be like in soccer that also whatever the junior team that developed him or her gets a certain fee for the work that they did. On the other hand, it's a free market, and if there's a rider on development team A that is offered 10 times more on team B to go to the world tour than on his own team, then and then he chooses for that team, that's something I think it's hard to avoid for sure. It would be good if there's somehow a system that the teams do the development, and I would certainly include also their first teams, their junior or cadet teams in that, but that they get somehow a development fee for the rider if he goes to another team.
Now, back in our day, I think we were lucky if we got a 2-year contract. Like 3-year contracts were, like fairy dust, right? But now the contracts are getting longer and longer, and you actually signed Wout van Aert to a lifetime contract back in September. Why are teams giving such longer contracts this year in the sport that we know can change at the drop of a hat?
Yeah, I think it's that of course there are a few absolute top riders in the world, and every team would like to have them, and then it makes sense to give Wout or Jonas, in our case, a very long contract, because we believe that they will be competitive also in a few years' time. And I think it's also maybe something that changed to our days, is that at least quite a lot of teams have a certain long-term vision, but also the long-term sponsorship, so they can really plan ahead for the next 5 years instead of all the time thinking about just about the next season, because you don't know if you still have a sponsor, if you can pay your riders at the end of the season. And I think that's something that changed a bit in recent years, that there are more and more teams that have quite a lot of certainty, at least, that they will also exist in 5 years and in 8 years' time.
Since the majority of our listeners and viewers are English speaking, we got to talk a little bit about Zep C. Can you reveal anything about Zep C's race program? Will he try to win another Vuelta, maybe be a captain for the Giro Italia, or anything you can tell us?
No, unfortunately, I can't tell you yet, because we haven't made it public yet. Of course, I know what he will be doing, but I mean, Seppi is a great guy. Became a father recently, and of course, also he didn't have the year in 2024 that he hoped for. He had some setbacks, but also, not the absolute best form that he wanted to have. Missed the Tour de France, of course, due to COVID. And he's eager to show again what he showed in 2023, and we all know that Sep's best playground is the Grand Tours, so for sure you will see him there, but which one in particular, that unfortunately I cannot tell you just yet.
So your team, Visma-Lease Bike, is definitely one of the biggest teams. How long of a contract do you have? Because like what you just said about, giving longer contracts, having the vision, investing in that vision, how long of a deal do you have with them? And can we ask what one of the super teams' budget is for one season?
You can ask me, but I'm the wrong person to ask, because I really don't know what our overall budget is. Like if you look to the whole organization, to be honest, I have no clue about that. Luckily, we have other people that go about these things, and I can concentrate on the racing side. But of course, it is certainly a big budget with 3 teams, with I think in total 220 employees that we have. And also talking about sponsor contracts lengths, that's also not my part, where I'm involved in. I have to lie. As long as I know, we have contracts for I don't know how you call it in English, uncertain time. So they always continue, and I think you have a 2-year time frame that you have to inform the team in advance if one of the main sponsors would opt to pull out of that contract. Something like this is it, I think. So we are pretty certain for our future, and also, we have partners that want to invest in us, not only for the next 1 or 2 years, but for the next period of time.
So then, Grischa, you seem to really enjoy your job, and you're doing a great job, right? I mean, your team is really one of the top teams. Where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years from now? Winning Liège-Bastogne-Liège with Niklas Behrens in 5 years from now? Or maybe another team, maybe a different role? I go, I could do this for the rest of my life because I'm just happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really really happy with the job I have. Actually, right now I'm going into a bit of a transition because Merijn Zeeman, our sportive director, left the team. So my role changes a little bit more towards the management side. So I will be responsible also for the rider recruitment and for the negotiations together with Richard Plugge, our CEO, and I will be in charge basically of the World Tour men's team. A bit less races as a coach for me, a bit more management duties, I would say. And yeah, that's something that will probably certainly evolve over the next years. It is quite likely that I will go more into the management side because that's also necessary for the team. But I still really like to coach at the races, so I will not stop with that. Will I still do it in 5 years' time? Right now, I can't say. And asking about where will we be in 5 years' time? I hope at least that we by then found the successors of Wout and Jonas, and hopefully Wout and Jonas are still on the team, but their successors are next to them and trying to beat them and trying to take over the reins, and that could of course be guys like Jürgen Nordhagen or Kian Uiterbrooks, or on the classic side Niklas Behrens or Matthew Brennan. But yeah, we don't know right now. We don't want to, and we are not going to put that pressure on these young guys.
Well, talking about pressure, due to the Netflix series, we see a lot of you, and it just seems like the pressure is immense, and you have to kind of take that, deal with it, move on, get a second dose of it the day after, the day after, the day after. What do you do to really just calm down, to zero the dials a little bit after a very emotional day in the car?
I ride my bike every morning, and that's my remedy. So that's what I always do during the races. And I think in general, of course, doing a Tour de France is super stressful. Also for me as a coach. Then of course also Netflix likes to highlight the very tense moments. So that's maybe also a bit of exaggerating at points. Of course, it's a stressful job, and it doesn't end when we finish the race. When we go over the finish line, it ends whatever 12 half past 12 in the night, when all the job for the next day is done. When I talk to all the riders at the massage at their rooms about the next day, when we made the plans for the next days, when we finalized everything, and then I go to bed, and the next morning I wake up early and I jump on my bike, and that's for me the best way to start the day, and I really really love it, and I also really need it. I think when I wouldn't do it for a few days in a row, then I would probably be much more grumpy in the car.
You look incredibly fit. I think, right, Bobby? He looks fitter than us too, right? He looks skinny and more fit. So you ride your bike a lot, I guess. Also, do you also one of these young kids? They start to weight the food. Do you bring your scale and you weight your tomatoes on every night like the bike riders? How do you stay so skinny?
Certainly not. No. We do that, of course, with our riders, and we really believe in our nutrition plan, in the food coach that we use. But I don't do that. And actually, my way of staying lean, fairly lean, is riding the bike and trying to eat healthy. But I like to eat a lot, so I also have to try to ride my bike a lot still.
Well, tell us a little bit about that nutrition coach. I've heard about an app that you guys use. What do the riders have to do to get the most out of this system, and what are the little, I guess, tricks, nuts and bolts, what it's all about?
Yeah, we actually own a company. It's called the Athlete's Food Coach. That's an app which everybody can sign up for to have like food coach, like I said, a nutrition app that advises what to eat and amounts what they should eat. And we are now here at the training camp, 28 riders. I think we have actually 5 chefs here, and they cook all the food for the riders, and they especially do all these calculations together with our nutritionist. So the rider opens his app at the dinner table, and then it says he has to eat 432 grams of rice with 132 grams of chicken breast, and he can put 54 grams of sauce on it, and then the rider takes a plate and a scale, and he takes whatever he needs, and then he eats, and of course it is something all our rider buy into, and it's actually really, really convenient for them. It sounds really, really strange and really crazy, but most of the riders really like that system. And if there's somebody that really feels I haven't eaten enough, or then of course he is allowed to eat more. In the best case, they really believe in the system and everything is calculated. And also in a race, they just eat the food that the app tells them to eat, and they know they are optimally refueled for the next day. And then they can go again.
And to start with an example to make you laugh, we had a rider, Bobby, and I know which one, talented rider, world champion on the track, talented, but no discipline. He would then, when back in the days we would have a buffet, he would go to the dessert buffet, fill his plate up, hide behind the corner, swallow all of it in 2 seconds, go back to the buffet, another plate, hiding again, swallow all of it in another 2 seconds. And then officially walking back with an orange on his plate and making sure everybody sees him coming back with only an orange. Do you have riders, they are rebel against that and go, leave me alone, I need more food? Or every rider is, okay, that's what it is and that's what I have to do?
Yeah, basically. I mean, not every rider follows the food coach. Like for 100%, we certainly leave room in there for own choices. But in general, I think when a rider signs up for our team, he knows what he's up to, and he knows that there's also a certain level of professionalism that we demand, and following the food coach is one of it. And that now we are talking training camps, races, and then, like I said, of course you're allowed to eat if you still feel hungry, if you feel didn't have enough or whatever. And then, like, following the food coach at home, that's really on a personal level. Somebody really likes to do it and has a girlfriend or wife that likes to cook the receipts that are in the app, and somebody else uses like the guidelines they get. Of course, also when they're on training camp, they of course also get a feeling for, like, okay, I did 4 hours today. Now that was the amount that I was allowed to eat, and they know, okay, it's not necessary to eat a whole pig for dinner, because you need more carbs and not hundreds of grams of protein, for example. I think it's then of course it is everybody's own responsibility, but we absolutely believe in our system that we have in place, and we actually think that it enhances the performance, but certainly also the recovery.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. When you're following the food coach, are you trying to maximize the recovery, or is there another setting for when a rider is trying to cut weight?
Of course, also that, but I think especially, for example, talking about cutting weight, and then there's a system in place that you cut off 100, 200 calories every day. And I think a more traditional way of cutting weight is just stopping to eat and trying to lose 2 kilos in a week. And that certainly is not healthy. And also most of the time it doesn't work. So actually that system works really well by just trying to really gradually reduce weight, and without the rider being starving. And that also means, yeah, if you in the last week before race need to lose 2 kilos, you're way too late, because that will impact your recovery, for example, so much. If you don't eat enough, then you will not be on your best performance. So we really try to have a system in place that these issues, I would say, are tackled over a long period of time.
Last year or earlier this year, I had a chance to be one day with Team Cofidis, and they did some hill exercises, and on top they did the good old-fashioned lactate measurement. You still do that as well, to measure how much lactic acid they have in their body, how quick they recover in 3 minutes and 10 minutes? Is that still part of the system to make them better, or is that just old-fashioned?
No, absolutely. That's something that's also, of course, evolves over time. We do different tests now than we did a few years ago, but we still measure the lactate levels during the training camps sometimes, and that's absolutely still in place. Only I think every team has a little bit of a different tweak to what intensities and what time durations do they measure.
Yeah, but you being in the position that you are, I'm sure that you're getting offered new tech, new ideas, new apps, whatever it is. What is like the new bit of tech that has you most excited?
That's a good question. I think, of course, there's always new stuff, and everything, or a lot of things are offered to us from all sides. But yeah, we look into a lot of different things, and especially like the real scientific evidence of stuff. And when we really believe in it, we also implement it. But we certainly don't jump on every new trend there is. This is it. This is what we have to do now. And to be honest, to tell you what's now our latest innovation. That's also not 100% my side. I couldn't really say it, and I also have to admit that again in this case, I don't know at what point we are by making things official. So I rather don't give you a more clear answer.
Hey, just an easy question for me as my last question. When sometimes you lay at night in bed and you go looking at your day's work and the team, you go, if I would be 20 years younger, I could be such a great pro in this team with the nutrition program. Or you go, I'm so glad I'm out waiting my food. I would never do that. But sometimes you think, I would be great if I would be younger in my own team. Or you go, no, I had enough. I never want to do that.
No, I think to start with, I think I have now on my team a lot of guys that are a lot more talented than I ever was. But certainly after I finished my career and I went more into coaching and training and stuff like this, I found out that I made a lot of mistakes during my cycling career. Like, for example, training way too much, recovering way too little, never eating on the bike in training, almost never eating on the bike in racing, stuff like this, that I think I could have been a lot better with the knowledge I have now. But and I would also, I think, I'm absolutely behind our scientific approach. I would not mind to do that myself. But on the other hand, I would say our time has been. It was nice, and now it's time for other guys. So I'm certainly not unhappy about being in the position I am now and not being a rider anymore.
Well, Grischa, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. It's always great catching up with you. We wish you and the entire team of Visma-Lease bike all the best in 2025, and can't wait to see what happens in this brand new season that is less than a month away.
Thank you, boys.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Odd Tandem podcast again today. There's going to be a lot more stuff popping up in 2025, including more great interviews from people like Grischa that we had on today. Keep dropping your questions for us in the comments and check our description below in order to find us on social media in order to support this channel like these great people.